310 Evening News.
Today, Great Granny Smith celebrates her 190th birthday today. Isn't she pretty?
Sweet, crunchy, and delicious.
190 years of goodness. Dish just in. We have received some very serious news of the Spanish Inquisition case. Miranda?
Yes, indeed we do, Sal. We have been informed by our sources that Mr. La Sacrifice and others have finally been captured after years of torturing people. With us up in Europe and Spain is Mr. Chief Williams. Chief, explain to us what happened.
Thank you, Miranda. Here with us we have Mr. Paula Vasquez, who was one of the victims of the Spanish Inquisition. Can you describe to the public what it was like to be one of the victims in the dungeon?
Horrifying, terrifying. That pit, that horrible pit. I was lucky enough to jump in as the walls were closing on me, but managed to get saved. But as for mi familia, I can't speak anymore, I'm sorry.
You heard it straight from the source. Back to you, Miranda and Sally.
Thanks, Chief. Mr. Paola and many others suffered through deadly and sad events. They end up waking up in this dark dungeon not knowing what's going on, but what we know that they were drugged. Fed small portions of what you would call food, like stale bread and slop, and small portions of water. They all reported seeing a pit, but what was down there was unknown since it was too dark to see anything. The victims then woke up having their arms and legs tied around as a big pendulum swung over them. The reason why was to slice their bodies apart. As for Mr. Paola, he was lucky to get out. He used the meat that they gave him and rats that were coming out of the pit. He put the meat on him as the rats jumped on him and ate the meat, cutting at the rope. He then contemplated jumping into the pit, but as the walls were closing in on him, he had no choice. As he jumped in, he was then saved. Isn't he lucky?
Very lucky. The world we live in these days, people have no heart.
You could say that again.
The world we live in these days...
Figure of speech, Sally.
Sorry. Mr. La Sacrifice and his little minions were sentenced to death.
Such a shame.
Well, that's it for our 310 Evening News. Signing off, I'm Sally Van.
And I'm Miranda Hart. And remember, if you step on a crack, you break your mother's back.